This is DJ the Prodigy Pen, and you're listening to the Ringside Report.
Hey, this is Cain Velasquez, and you're listening to Ringside Report Radio.
This is Chuck Liddell, and you're listening to the Ringside Report.
Hi, he's Wanderlei the ex-murder Silver, and you listen Ringside Report Radio.
This is Tito Ortiz, the People's Champ, and you're listening to Ringside Report Radio.
This is Uriah Faber, the California Kid, and you're listening to the Ringside Report.
This is Randy, the Natural Couture, and you're listening to the Ringside Report.
Hi, this is Vito Belfer, and you're listening to Ringside Report Radio.
This is Chael Sonnen, and you are listening to Ringside Report Radio.
This is Jacques Saint-Pierre, and welcome to Ringside Report Radio.
Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.
It's the one and only Digo Double G. Snoop Dogg. You know I'm mobbing with the D.R.E.
Yeah. You know the West Coast is back for all you suckers. So put something in there. Put it in there. Yeah. Suck, Snoop.
All right, we are live on the air. Welcome to Ringside Report Radio. I usually come in before that song runs so long, but we had to fix Fred's microphone or his headphones or something right there. Fred's here. I'm here.
Technical difficulties.
There you go.
Too much talking, not enough preparation.
That's right, but we are prepared. We are ready for the show here tonight. I am Dave Simon. Fred Garcia, you heard him. He's here. Somebody else is here. Who's here? Anthony, where are you? You got to turn your mic on.
Yeah, technical difficulties.
Anthony's
you are
here.
A professional. Turn your mic on.
Turn off the cell phone. Turn off that cell phone.
Okay.
What's up, Dave?
We just talked to your mom before we went on the air, so everything's good. Hello to Anthony's mom.
She got mixed signals there because of you, but anyways.
Yeah, well, we're trying to corrupt you.
Better your life.
That's right. We're trying to
We're just
improve
there
your
because
life.
we love you, man.
That's right. And Anthony DeLessio, a new addition to Ringside Report Radio. He wants a nickname. He wants to be called AJ. And he's also been texting me at like 2, 3 in the morning consistently. I don't know what that's about. We'll discuss Anthony's behavior and his potential nickname. You can tweet me your thoughts about Anthony's nickname at Dave Simon MMA. Do I keep calling him Anthony or do we call him AJ? Because Anthony wants to be called AJ.
And seriously, don't let anybody start calling me Tony or something like that.
Tony.
No, it's too much. Come on.
Big Tony.
Big T, man.
Tony.
Heavy T.
Heavy. There's already a guy named that, I think.
The comedian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Heavy T.
Yeah, that's not you, though.
No.
You're not that big.
No, I'm a medium T.
Yeah, you're a medium. So is that what we're going to call you?
Mid T?
Meaty T? Meaty T. I like that better than AJ.
No, AJ, come on.
Fred doesn't like AJ. I don't like AJ, but Anthony wants to be called AJ. At least that's his on-air persona, AJ. We've got Cousin Marco in the house, who I think I'm going to call Muscles Marco, because I think he's...
Or Manager Marco.
Manager Marco. He's your manager and your bodyguard.
Exactly.
Even though I think you could probably take him. I don't know.
Pretty much.
So he's got a hell of a bodyguard. We got the whole crew in the house here, and we've got UFC London going down tomorrow. We're going to talk about MMA over the next hour, including that UFC London card, where your man Fabricio Werdum will be in action, former UFC heavyweight champion. But before we get to Fabricio Werdum, we should address Floyd Mayweather. Because there was Mayweather news this week, and just as I was starting to think that Mayweather was probably not going to fight in MMA, that Mayweather and McGregor, if they were going to fight again, it was probably going to be a boxing match. Just when I thought all of those things were true, here comes Floyd Mayweather talking to TMZ, and he seems pretty convinced that he's going to fight in the UFC. Now, I want you guys to listen to Floyd Mayweather and tell me what you think. Is Floyd Mayweather serious about coming to MMA? This is Floyd talking to TMZ this week, evaluating not only a potential fight in the UFC, but his own MMA skills, including his wrestling and kicking abilities.
Floyd, what's up, man?
What's up, baby?
Hey, how's the training going, man?
Man, I'm just chilling, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You working with Tyrone yet?
I'm gonna start soon.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been texting back and forth. We talked a couple of times, so we're gonna start working out real soon.
That's Tyron Woodley he's talking about. Tyron Woodley has a show on TMZ and is the UFC welterweight champion.
Okay, how do you think you're going to have to adapt your game to deal with kicks in the octagon?
With any and everything, you got to make adjustments.
Right.
So it's probably going to be a little difficult, but it is what it is.
They said it might take you about 3 months training. I mean, I know you train hard.
It probably need a little bit longer. Even if it takes 6 to 8 months, whatever it takes, we want to make sure that everything is done correctly and everything is done the right way.
I want to stop it there for a second. Woodley is the guy that said it would only take Mayweather 3 months and he could be ready to be good in MMA. And now Mayweather's saying it might take 6 to 8 months, but we're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure that we're good and ready. So far, to me, this sounds like a guy who's very serious about becoming an MMA fighter, or at least fighting in the UFC. Maybe not fully embracing jiu-jitsu and wrestling and all the elements of mixed martial arts and all those types of things, but he seems like a guy that wants to try it.
Yeah.
Anthony, you seem unconvinced. What's going on here? Fred, what do you think? What do you think, Freddie?
Well, look,
yeah.
When they did their boxing fight that night, and even before that, I was already saying there's a chance Floyd Mayweather comes to MMA, because what does Floyd Mayweather look like? Money. Exactly. And him against Conor McGregor is a lot of money. And that's why also I think that's the only fight that makes sense for Floyd Mayweather. I don't believe in the CM Punk noises and other options, because I think that him and Conor McGregor are in another galaxy as far as numbers that they're going to generate. So, yes, I do.
But, come on, Fred. He gets demolished against McGregor. Against Punk, he has a chance.
True.
Yeah, but I mean, look, McGregor got demolished, even though Anthony doesn't want to admit it. McGregor got completely schooled.
My God. Here we go again.
I don't think he got demolished. I think he did pretty well. I think he lost the fight. I don't think, like Anthony thinks, that it was a premature stoppage and we need to run it back. Anthony's
and he won 6 rounds.
Yeah, okay. You're way far gone on that. I think Conor did well. I don't think he got destroyed by Mayweather, and I certainly think that what Conor would do to Mayweather in an octagon would be far more vicious and brutal.
What would he do in the octagon to Floyd?
He would kick him, he would punch him, he would elbow him, he would take him down, he would mount him, and then he would continue to punch and elbow him until Floyd didn't want
like a good
anymore.
old-fashioned street fight, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the kicking and the punching and the elbowing, I'll agree. But the takedown, if you look at Conor McGregor's career, he's not a guy that really initiates the takedown. And another thing is, Conor's a showman, so if he's fighting Floyd, I would expect Conor to want to trade standing up with him. So
he kicks him, he keeps him at kicking range. Floyd can't get within range to punch him, and Conor just completely kicks him, kicks his leg out from under him, kicks his body, does all that kind of stuff, and he kicks him to death. So, I mean, either way, I see Conor just having it completely one-sided on his side, whereas with Floyd and Conor, when they boxed, it was a little bit more even. Floyd won. Floyd controlled the majority of the fight, but I think Conor had moments, whereas I don't think Floyd is going to have a single moment where you think, oh, Floyd might win this thing if Floyd goes in and fights MMA.
But wait a sec. Like last week, we were talking about Tyrone and his comment saying that it'll take him actually 3 weeks to prepare like Mayweather for an MMA fight, and he was saying...
No, he said 3 months.
No, first he said 3 weeks. First he goes 3 weeks, and then, okay, maybe 3 months. He said 3 weeks he could get him ready.
You need to listen to the podcast, Anthony, at ringsidereport.net. Get your facts straight.
Hello, my friend. I got the quotes from last week, man. It was 3 weeks. But listen to this. Listen to this, Dave.
I'm listening.
I'm saying this is that Woodley said one thing is that defensively, that's all Mayweather needs to know. He's never going to learn jiu-jitsu. He's never going to be an offensive jiu-jitsu guy, an offensive Muay Thai guy, an offensive kickboxing guy.
I'm not even sure he needs to be a good defensive wrestler, because I don't think Conor's going to be wrestling Floyd.
He's going to take him up against a cage, right?
I think he's going to be scared of the leg kicks. That's definitely something that Floyd would be hurt from.
Look, Woodley said it straight. All he has to teach him is how to defend those things. If he could defend a takedown, if he could defend a knee, if he could defend a kick, that's really a possibility that Mayweather can open up, get his range, and then you can't outbox Mayweather.
I'm not saying it's going to be a good fight. I'm just saying it's going to happen because there's too much money for it to be made. And yes, if you're Floyd Mayweather, I mean, you gotta be confident in yourself, the same way James Toney was confident in himself.
Yeah, but he ain't Mayweather.
Everybody that knows MMA knows that Conor should win that fight.
Yeah.
Like, if Conor doesn't win, it's the biggest upset in
sports
the history of the
Yeah,
sport.
he should win, and he should win easily. Let's hear a little bit more from Floyd talking to TMZ.
Do you expect to have to do any wrestling, or do you expect to knock?
I mean, it doesn't matter, I can wrestle. My wrestling game is not that bad. On a scale of from 1 to 10, I would say it's probably a 7, and I think we can take it up to like a 9, if possible. Of course, my hand game is on a scale from 1 to 10, it's 100.
Okay, let's stop there for a second. I like Floyd's numbers. He says, my wrestling game, it's pretty good. It's about a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. I think we could maybe get it up to a 9. And then at the same time, Floyd says, and my hand game on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably 100. So Floyd's scale of 1 to 10 clearly goes to at least 100, right? So it's really a scale to 100, and he's saying his wrestling is a 7. Yeah. And a 7 on 10, that's pretty good. A 7 on 10 with the possibility of 100 is pretty damn terrible. Yeah. And I think that's a pretty good, accurate statement on where Floyd's wrestling is actually at. It's not really a 7 on 10 in a traditional on 10 scale. It's an on 10 scale that could potentially go to 100 because, hey, it's Floyd Mayweather and his math doesn't really add up.
Exactly. We know he doesn't read he's not the best reader. He might not be the best.
Obviously not.
So I still believe it might happen. Where I think the issue is going to be is on the cardio. The same way the cardio was hard for Conor in boxing, it's going to be hard for Floyd in MMA. And I'll bring my big fighting expertise where as soon as I do some stand-up where I have no experience, hey, I get winded very quick. Like, when you're not in your element, your body starts pumping differently, your arm.
Conor clinching with Floyd. Conor pushing Floyd against the cage. That's a different type of arm movement that Floyd is not used to, that I think he would struggle with tremendously. The clinch would tire him out in a way that he isn't expecting. Grappling cardio, Anthony, grappling cardio compared to, boxing cardio is two different types of things.
Two different worlds. Muay Thai to grappling is two different worlds. We've seen that many times. I mean,
just because you can run 20 miles doesn't mean you can roll jiu-jitsu for 6 minutes.
Listen, man, it's like getting pancaked. If you get pancaked, if someone has never experienced having a human body just crushing you and taking the wind out of you, they have no idea. They have no idea. It's crazy. But I just want to get back to one thing where he says he's 7 out of 10. Is he nuts? 7 out of 10 wrestling with what? Teddy bears?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. If wrestling...
Floyd Mayweather's 7 out of 10, what's Habib Nurmagomedov?
Yeah, like, seriously? He's
what's
like
George St. Pierre?
Yeah.
He's 100.
He's 100. Yeah. Guaranteed. But 7 out of 10?
Floyd's scale, 7 out of 10 is not that good because it goes up to 100. So it's really 7 out of 100, which is terrible.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Like, I think
it's Mayweather math, brother.
Yeah, Mayweather madness, more like it. Like, there's... Anyways.
The biggest thing I think that's going against Floyd is his age. Like, how old is he? 41, I think. Like, he's really up there to be transitioning to MMA. That's where I'll have a pause and say, I don't think it's going to be successful, mainly because, like, at 40-something, how much can you really transition to a new sport? But, hey, they're going to make a lot of money, and I can't blame either of them for doing it.
I think he's going to try it no matter what. I want to hear a little bit more from Mayweather.
And the kicking game, on a scale from 1 to 10, is probably a 4.
That's terrible. If his kicking is a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, but possibly 100, 4 is very, very bad.
So we have to tweak a few things, then take things to that next level. I can't overlook or knock any MMA guy. Tyrone is unbelievable fighter, tough competitor. Conor McGregor, he's a tough competitor, hell of a fighter. There's a lot of tough, rugged guys out there in the MMA, and I can't overlook or disrespect those guys.
Champ, are you going to go straight for McGregor? Are you going to take your vengeance back? You already won in the ring. But
I was thinking, me myself, I really don't know. We can't say. That's why, I pause because I can't really say, I have to talk with my team, speak with my father, and then see how it's going to play out.
Okay. Any other?
Wait a second. He's got to ask his dad's permission? He's got to speak to his father?
His father's part of his team. Come on, man. It's the money team.
I just like making fun of Floyd Mayweather.
Hard work.
Daddy, can I go fight MMA? No, son. Go back to your room, Floyd.
Well, if you go back to the stories of him growing up, his father wouldn't let Floyd play basketball because he would be scared that Floyd would hurt his knees.
What a jerk.
That's why he only has 4 out of 10, man.
Although
probably never played soccer, like kicked the can. What's up, man?
Did he really miss out on anything? How tall is Mayweather? Like 5'7"? What's he going to do
yeah,
playing
but
basketball?
I mean, still, you might want to go play some ball with your friends when you're a kid, but no, it was all about boxing for Floyd, and that's how he grew up.
Well, I think it paid off. I think it worked out in the end for him.
Yeah. But listen, at least he had some respect. When he was talking away there, he was giving like respect to the MMA guys. Actually had like a soft spot for him now.
Let's hear him wrap up.
Life changes. Have you had to change your diet? Have you had to change your...
No, not at all. I haven't even started training yet. I'm in L.A. moving around a little bit, just hanging out with the crew, going to check out a couple basketball games, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, you're chilling, champ. Is there a magic number that would speed up, get you in the octagon a little bit faster? Is there
you already know. It's all about presenting the right numbers, and of course, they're gonna present the right numbers, and we're gonna make it happen.
Okay, great.
Right.
Hey, thank you for your time. Have a good one. Appreciate it.
There he is.
Way to go.
Floyd Mayweather. He's waiting for the number, right? He's waiting for the cash.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, ching. It's all about money, man. That's what it comes down to.
Of course.
They don't call him Mo Money for no reason, man. He wants Mo. Mo Money.
Mo Money?
Mo Money.
Is that what you think?
Is he sponsored by Burger King too, this guy?
Do you understand the musical reference, the musical tie-in here, Anthony? Are you getting that?
No,
Fred's
man,
getting
I'm
it, right?
old school, man. I don't know.
Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang. Cash rules everything around me.
Mo Money's Biggie Small.
Mo Money, Mo Problems is Biggie Smalls. Anthony's confused. It's okay,
confused,
Anthony.
Man.
We still love you.
This is too new school for me, man.
Too old for this?
Yeah, I think so, man.
For real?
Oh, come on. Is this Zeppelin, man? What is this?
Oh, my goodness. It's the Wu-Tang Clan! The Wu is coming through, Anthony.
I'm a Beastie Boys
You know what else
anyways.
is the Wu? Wrestling Uncensored. Tomorrow night on TSN 690. I'll be talking some professional wrestling with Johnny North.
Yeah, that's a pretty good show, man.
Last time we saw Floyd Mayweather cross over from boxing to another sport, it was pro wrestling, and he defeated The Big Show.
Size didn't matter then.
No, it did not.
Hey, let me ask you this, Dave. Are the wrestling fans, for Mayweather or not, since he, beat up Big Show?
Nobody likes Floyd Mayweather. I don't think wrestling fans really care either way about Floyd Mayweather.
Really?
We don't consider him.
I don't know about that.
What do you mean you don't know about that?
He beat Big Show.
What do you know about wrestling fans?
Ronda Rousey.
I'm sorry. Who's the host of
CM
Wrestling
Punk.
Uncensored here, Anthony? And who doesn't know the difference between Roman Reigns and Razor Ramon? You are the guy who doesn't know the difference between Roman Reigns and Razor Ramon.
I said the guy with the toothpick, right? I got one thing right.
You thought Roman Reigns was the guy with the toothpick.
But they look the same.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do, man.
And they've wrestled 30 years apart. Razor Ramon was the 90s. Roman Reigns is right now. He's wrestling Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania in 3 weeks, which you can hear all about tomorrow night right here on Wrestling Uncensored. I'm Dave Simon. We're going to talk to Matt Casavant, who is our boxing expert, and he's going to give us his thoughts on Floyd Mayweather moving to MMA. We're also going to talk a little bit about Canelo Alvarez and his drug test failure, some boxing updates. What's new in boxing? We'll also give you some results of TKO. TKO went down in Laval tonight. TKO 42. And in the main event, the champion Laramie retaining his title with a 5th-round TKO victory. A lot more mixed martial arts and some boxing, maybe some pro wrestling, and also your votes. Send them to me at Dave Simon MMA. Do we call Anthony AJ? Fred doesn't like it. I don't really like it.
Why,
Do you
man?
like it? Anthony wants to be AJ. I don't know.
Well, I'm Anthony Jr., man. AJ?
It's Ringside Report Radio on TSN 690. Anthony still hasn't figured out that we're going to commercial. He doesn't know how it works.
Hey, this is Cain Velasquez, and you're listening to Ringside Report Radio.
Hi, this is Sander Borovsky, and you're listening to Ringside Report Radio.
This is Tyron Woodley, and you're listening to Ringside Report Radio.
Welcome back. It is Ringside Report Radio. I am Dave Simon. Fred Garcia is here. Anthony D'Alessio is here. The whole crew. Muscles Marco is in the house as well. Marco's here. He doesn't speak. He's just here. He speaks like during the breaks and everything, but not on the air. He's just like, he's the silent partner of Ringside Report Radio now.
Like Baba Booey.
We're hooked up. No, Baba Booey speaks sometimes. Do you not listen to the Howard Stern show? You don't hear the show? You don't listen to that? Why? Do you even know who Baba Booey is?
Of course, man. He fought, what's his name?
What?
Klitschko. Did you see that picture with him and Klitschko? It was amazing. Come on, guys. Get with the picture.
You are very confused. Baba Booey is a producer for the Howard Stern show named Gary Delabate. He's not a boxer. He didn't fight Vladimir Klitschko.
Nah, they have a picture together. I'll show you later.
I think you're thinking of maybe Beetlejuice.
Oh, that's it, man. Beetlejuice.
You're talking about the little guy.
The
Beetlejuice
little guy.
with the mohawk. That's Beetlejuice, Anthony. Also from the Stern show, but a different guy.
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
See, you don't know who anybody is.
Man, I just know one thing.
There's
Ringside
no
Report.
points of reference
man.
with you.
Ringside Report, TSN 690. That's it. MMA.
Yeah, do you even know the website address?
What was it again?
Oh, my God. RingsideReport.net. Thanks, Anthony.
There you go.
Good job.
It's not a .com. Remember that. It's a .net.
That's right.
Old school. We go old school here.
Oh, boy. Fred, it's weird. I always, when we do the show, I enjoy Anthony, and, he's been on for a couple months now, I guess, with us.
Years, man.
Well, yeah, a couple years, but, consistently now, you're on every week. And every week, there's, a moment during the show where I think we made a big mistake.
Well, maybe you should just be controlling his mic. Once in a while you put it up.
Fred, he does anyways. Don't worry about it.
There you go. I
just
got it off.
You see where he can't. He's not even able to come back. We need to get him.
That's good. I just get rid of him.
Force silence. He's gonna yell
putting it
over
back
us.
on, man.
Oh no, he knows how to do it.
Of
he
course,
knows how to do it.
man.
Okay,
go ahead.
Okay, can we talk to Matt Casavant? He's on the phone. You're just derailing the whole thing, Matt. I'm very sorry.
Hey, guys, how's it going? By the way, for Anthony, if he wants to know who Baba Booey is, you can YouTube his first pitch with the Mets a few years ago.
Yeah,
very... Well, the Mets game, I should say, but that was pretty bad.
Very bad. Almost as bad as 50 Cent's first pitch.
Yeah, those are two right up there. Some of the worst you'll see.
That was great. Matt, thanks for coming on the show. We got some boxing to get to. Deontay Wilder fought a couple weeks ago, and that was pretty awesome. Canelo Alvarez has tested positive for drugs. Not so awesome. But we were just talking about Floyd Mayweather, and he seems more and more likely to go to the UFC. From a boxing point of view, A, do boxing people care? And B, are you giving him any kind of chance in the UFC?
The boxing people definitely do not care. The Mayweather fan base and the hardcore fan base that he has, the money team, if you will, and the people who choose to be part of that circle, they care what every move Mayweather makes. But I still think most of this is probably just talk. If he does do this move and go towards MMA, and I heard obviously the TMZ clip, he's talking about maybe he'll take this seriously. He's teased it for months now on Instagram. I think it'd have to be obviously ego and money, but money, not so much, because you could make as much money or maybe even more in boxing. So I would have to think this has to do with the first press conference ever between Mayweather and McGregor leading up to their big fight last year in LA. Mayweather kind of said, I don't know if he slipped, but he talked about he would beat McGregor, whether it was in a boxing ring or in an octagon. And, of course, McGregor ever since has been kind of teasing him about the fact that if you're going to make that statement, you better back it up. And that's the only way I could see him possibly doing this, unless, of course, he does the MMA fight against a lesser opponent, like you guys mentioned, a CM Punk fight that would be more of a circus, an actual match. Regardless of what he does, none of this makes any sense to me, and none of the boxing world, I would think, really cares. In fact, it probably takes away from the spotlight of other more deserving fighters.
Now, you talked about it from a perspective of ego. Like Mayweather got called out on the fact that he's not willing to fight in MMA. Conor said he's scared of the real fight, this and that. And I see that. But from a financial perspective, he really has nothing to lose as far as his boxing record in this fight. He could make a lot of money. And if you compare it to other boxing matches that are out there for Floyd, which are potentially quite dangerous, maybe it's equal money. Like if Floyd goes out and fights Gennady, Golovkin or Canelo Alvarez or somebody that people want to see him fight at this point in the game, he probably loses and he makes money, but I don't know if he makes as much as he would for a UFC fight with Conor McGregor. And, he has less to lose there because it's MMA and it's not boxing. The 50-0 or whatever his record is, right? 50-0.
50-0.
It
Correct,
doesn't get tarnished at all for MMA, whereas if he were to fight in boxing, who is there for him to fight that doesn't beat him at this point?
And that brings these pay-per-view numbers because, look, I'm reading that they did 4.3 million pay-per-view buys in the U.S. for McGregor versus Mayweather. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's another boxing fight for Mayweather out there that brings those numbers. And it's much more dangerous, like Dave just said.
And that's the case. That's the argument. And when I talk to people from the state of Nevada who are in the boxing world, close to that scene, that's the feeling they get. This case you made, Dave, about him making as much money or maybe a bit less, but at least with less risk in terms of reputation, that's why you could see it happen. But I think really if he's going to fight in the MMA world, I highly doubt it'd be against anyone other than McGregor. And the rematch against McGregor is the most lucrative fight out there. And obviously it's more lucrative in MMA circles right now than I think it would be if it was a boxing rematch. And McGregor seems to be intent now on coming back to the UFC, which makes sense. So, look, I think this for now is more talk than anything else, but there's definitely some smoke. And we'll see if it leads to something else in the coming weeks and months. I don't personally want to see it, but I think if it does happen where Mayweather, especially if it's against McGregor in an octagon, no doubt it's going to sell, like you say, and it's going to be a massive attraction from people who enjoy both boxing and MMA. But I doubt anyone would ever make the case that Mayweather has a chance of beating any decent MMA fighter.
It's once again a fight that's going to be on the headlines of every sports show for a couple of months, and that's how the fight is going to be sold. The same way that the boxing fight was sold to us. Everybody, like most people were saying, Floyd will beat Conor in a boxing ring.
Yeah, but you had guys like Dave who thought McGregor had a really good chance, and I don't think anybody.
No, that was me.
I think there'd be more people.
A couple of years ago,
there's more people who feel that even in the first fight, regardless of how much an underdog McGregor was, I think more people still thought McGregor, because of the stand-up, the transition to boxing is a lot easier than the boxing transition to a full MMA.
Yeah.
Then I think that's why. I mean, it'd be a lot less people believing in Mayweather, but I agree with you guys. Ultimately, it would still dominate the sports centers of this world for a few months.
It'd be the biggest thing going in sports. What could possibly be bigger than that right now?
And that's what Mayweather wants, right? It's all about money and ratings. So.
And it's not about the purest fan of MMA or the purest fan of boxing. It's about the general sports fan out there. Even the general public, like everybody's going to be interested. It's one of those fights that everybody's going to talk about, the build-up and the aftermath, whether it delivers. Like the boxing fight, most people felt delivered as far as a spectacle. And that's what the discussion's going to be about, and that's why it's going to happen.
I think people will be very disappointed by the outcome of the MMA fight. I don't think people are going to feel like it delivered because I think it's going to be very quick, and you won't really get much of a show.
Well, what if Conor doesn't throw any punches in the first round like Floyd did in the first 3 rounds of boxing? I mean, there's always something that could be done. I'm not saying.
Yeah, but come on. Conor could win this fight easily without throwing a single punch.
And so should Floyd should have won easily also early, but he decided not to punch for 3 rounds.
You think so? I don't know.
I'm actually not one of those who believes that Mayweather carried McGregor completely. I'm not. I think that's a bit of hindsight of saying that, because I think McGregor surprised him in the first few rounds. I was there with Dave, and we shared that opinion that McGregor actually surprised me with his ability, but he was a front runner and he gassed out pretty quickly. But again, the rematch, if it does happen in the MMA circles, I'm still. You guys seem to be more. I wouldn't say convinced, but you guys seem to be believing that this has a better chance than I do. I still think this is highly doubtful that we ever see MMA in the UFC.
Well, it's the money, because where I'll disagree with you is when you said Floyd has other money fights that are as big in boxing. I don't think there's anything as big as a rematch with Conor.
Yeah.
Now, it's where does this rematch happen, in a boxing ring or in an octagon?
Or maybe it might happen in both again.
No, I think there's no chance of Mayweather fighting McGregor in the boxing ring again. I think that's 0%.
You really don't think so, eh?
Anthony really wants it to happen very badly. Look, no one else in the world seems to.
No, Matt.
Anthony is convinced.
Matt. Listen, honestly, like if I was at the bars and I went around to check out what was happening, and just the McGregor Mayweather fight, every place was packed. If you didn't have reservations, you could not get into any place. And when I saw the Canelo Triple G fight, I was there to watch that. It was a great fight. But the thing is that the bars were not as packed for that fight, which is like a super fight, as it was for Mayweather McGregor. And if it happens again, the second fight, the bars everywhere across North America, around the world, they will be full.
They'll be full if they fight in MMA too, though.
Exactly, and
so
that's
let's
what it
just
comes
do
down
that
to.
instead. Because I'd rather see that. Like, if they do a boxing match, I'm not that interested. They do an MMA fight, I kind of want to see it just to see Mayweather get beat up severely.
That's right, and I think that would be the most, the biggest appeal. But I think we still need to have a bit more training videos of Mayweather actually doing this. I think there needs to be a bit more evidence than just this TMZ video before we go all in on the Mayweather to MMA deal.
But he is talking pretty seriously about it, and he is saying that he's going to do it. It's not like he's saying he's not doing it. He's saying
no, correct.
Yes,
no, Mayweather is
happen.
not dismissing this completely. So as long as he doesn't say it's never going to happen, there's always going to be people who are going to want to see what happens, and he's a great at marketing. Mayweather is of always leaving kind of that dot. He did the same thing even with the first McGregor option, and I remember the roles were kind of reversed, Dave, when we talked about the possibility of a Mayweather-McGregor boxing match. I started to believe convincingly that it would happen. You were very doubtful, and now it seems like the opposite could happen. So, we'll see. It'll be fun times, and I don't really want to see anything like that happen, but it might be obviously completely out of my hands.
We'll watch it together, man. Just like the last one. All right. I want to talk to you about some boxing, some other stuff that's going on. First of all, Canelo Alvarez, bit of bad news. He failed a drug test. He's saying it was some tainted meat. Do you believe his excuse?
This is, regardless of whether or not it's actually a tainted meat, he tested positive for clenbuterol. I think this is a bit of a downer, of course, because it's the biggest fight outside of the heavyweight division in boxing, the rematch, which happens on Cinco de Mayo weekend. And even if the fight does happen, which is likely to happen, because unless Canelo fails another drug test going into the rematch, he will be allowed to fight Golovkin. It's a big fight, obviously, and Golovkin doesn't want to lose out on the payout in boxing and in combat sports. If you don't fight, you don't get paid, at least not the full percentage. So Golovkin, with the ability to win convincingly this time, or at least have no doubts and leave it out of the judges' scorecards, the option of him making multi-million dollars, he doesn't want that taken away over a small sample test. The thing is with Canelo, you don't know until only he and his team know for sure whether or not that was something he wanted to do without consent, or if he obviously might have been a mistake. But the clenbuterol raises a lot of questions. Now, this was tested by VADA, which is a competing agency to USADA, but it's one that's paid for by the fighters. Golovkin has been doing it for several years. It's one of the toughest testing agencies in the world, and there's even conspiracy theorists who think VADA might, test guys positive sometimes with very, very low samples and traces just to justify their hiring and try to create more revenue for future tests. So there's so much questions that are raised with this. I just hope that the fight does happen and there's no other issues going in, but it's definitely suspicious considering Canelo was a smaller guy who wanted to move up in weight, and the clenbuterol, the best side effect of that drug, it can be used either as a masking agent or it also increases stamina, which, of course, for combat sports is a great asset.
Now, just explain to me why Canelo would be able to fight. Because in our world, in the UFC, if you find out a guy tested positive for like a steroid, a banned substance, whatever it is, the fight is canceled. Whatever fight you have in a couple months is not happening. We know this, and you wait until you get some sort of sanctioning. Why, in boxing, with the VADA situation, why are they even being tested if there's potentially no sanctioning?
Well, there's been big fights in the past that have been completely canceled as soon as a positive test, and then obviously the B sample also tested positive. I can think of Andre Berto when he was supposed to fight Amir Khan a few years ago. He tested positive by VADA. The fight was scrapped right away. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the UFC also had a situation where they knew guys like John Jones had tested positive before, but then only disclosed the positive test afterwards. Whatever the case is, I know nowadays if they do test positive before, it's likely to be canceled. I think in this case, it's really just because they don't want to punish Golovkin. And obviously, it's a money fight. It's the biggest money fight, and that has a big deal. If this was a lower level fight, it would have been canceled right away. But Golovkin cannot make as much money fighting anyone else other than Canelo right now. And why should he be punished? If he's willing to fight somebody who might be cheating and might have an advantage, but he's willing to let that go, then I think it's within his rights to do so, as long as he knows, what the deal is, and he has made that decision to go on with the fight. Again, though, if Canelo were to test positive before the rematch another time, a second time, then I think the Nevada State Athletic Commission would step in and say, at this point, it's clearly not just a a one-time occasion. There's a trend here, and we gotta intervene. But I think it's really just to not punish Golovkin, and because of the money that's at stake, it's a bit, if you will, some will say corrupt, but that's why the rematch is happening and is allowed to continue.
I think it puts a bit of a stain on the fight, but I still want to see it. I'll still tune in. So
I agree.
Whatever.
I agree 100%. That's why it's happening, right? People still want to see it. Now there's even more drama to it. People who already like Golovkin more so than Canelo's personality, and I'll see like the good guy against the bad guy, the cheater, if you will. And I think it creates, of course, added drama. It's just a bit unfortunate, though, that Canelo, who is regarded as one of the better fighters, has he been doing this before? Because it's extremely rare that somebody gets popped for a positive test, and it's the first time they were taking that substance.
Yeah, and just to clear up, I can't recall any UFC fighter where we've known about a positive test before a fight and then them fighting afterwards.
No, but I thought the UFC, didn't they know about Brock Lesnar or John Jones or something beforehand, and they allowed the fight to happen anyways?
The deal was with Brock Lesnar, but they claim they didn't know that he had tested positive because the test results weren't in until after the fight.
Okay,
that
but
is
obviously,
their
like
claim.
you said,
But Mark Hunt is contesting that claim, and he's suing the UFC, claiming that they did know, but they just wanted Brock Lesnar to fight so badly that they hid the results because he's such a big draw. But that hasn't been proven. So at least publicly, I mean, Canelo, everybody knows, right? Everybody knows he got popped for whatever it was. That's never happened in the UFC where, say, John Jones would get a failed drug test and then he still fights 2 months later. It just doesn't happen.
Right, and that's the difference between a controlled body of organization, which is the UFC, compared to boxing, where it's two promoters or several promoters, and they can kind of go, okay, what do we want to do here, as long as the state allows the fight to happen. And of course, Nevada is never going to say no if the two parties agree to fight. Nevada is not going to step in here and say there's not going to be a fight and lose out on the multi-million-dollar payday it does for the state as well.
That's it. It's all about the money in the state of Nevada for some reason. I want to move on real quickly, Matt, to Deontay Wilder. He had a hell of a fight a couple of weeks ago. He's one of these guys that I don't think people really know about yet, but he's a very exciting prospect for the future of heavyweight boxing. I feel like this guy, Anthony Joshua, there's some guys out there right now that are making me excited about heavyweight boxing, and that's something that hasn't really happened in a very long time.
And that's it. And if you're excited about it, a lot of other people are, Dave, because you're not going to be paying attention to all the heavyweights out there, but you've known about these names that are circulating, and Wilder being a knockout guy, an American heavyweight with a good personality, and you have Anthony Joshua who has not $80,000, but 80,000 people coming to his fight in the UK, an undefeated good talker as well. It leads to possibly one of the bigger heavyweight fights we've seen in a few decades, probably since Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, but even Mike Tyson was way past his prime once they actually fought. So it's all leading up to probably one of the bigger fights. We just hope this does not turn into a Pacquiao-Mayweather situation where there's needless delays. And I've maintained that I think this fight will happen in early 2019, provided both guys win. Wilder had a big win. Anthony Joshua last year had a huge win against Klitschko. He's got a big fight in a few weeks against Joshua Parker, who has one of the 4 belts. Joshua has the 2, and Wilder has the WBC belt. So you have the potential to have a Joshua-Wilder fight between 2 undefeated guys with great power for all the belts. It's going to be the biggest fight in boxing when it does happen, and let's just hope it does by the early stages of 2019 at the latest.
That's huge. That's a huge fight. And if it does happen, do you think it happens in Vegas and the States, or do you think they do it in England because Joshua is really going to pack it in? I can't imagine that they're going to do 80,000 in an arena in the United States.
No, they would not. What happens is they actually can prove Deontay Wilder's team have proven with the money that can be sold by individual tickets in Vegas, even if it's a smaller crowd, they'll actually generate a bigger gate than they would in the UK. And I think the plan is for Joshua to have an American fight in the summertime against a guy like a Jarrell Miller, someone like a lesser top 10 contender, to just kind of get Joshua more exposure here in the States, because he doesn't have, of course, as much name recognition that he does in the UK. But I think if the fight does happen, it's strongly leading towards a first fight in Vegas with a rematch clause in the UK if Joshua were to lose.
Matt Casavant, always good. We will talk again soon. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right, John, I'll let you guys talk about MMA now. A lot of boxing talk in this first half hour of the show.
Hey, man, it's fun, Mayweather's in the mix. There's things going on in boxing, and we haven't talked to you in a while. We have to check in, you know?
All right. Anytime, Dave. It's always a pleasure.
There he is, Matt Casavant joining us here, our boxing expert on Ringside Report Radio. Always good to talk to Matt. Anthony, you excited about Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder? Are those names that excite you? Do they ring a bell?
Yeah, Anthony Joshua for sure. He's definitely an exciting boxer. He's the name for boxing. He's going to carry out the excitement for the boxing fans.
Yeah,
especially here in North America.
I like Wilder though. That guy, he just swings.
Isn't Wilder the American?
Yeah, Wilder's the American. Joshua's the British.
No,
guy.
I'm saying like in North American, like just television and fighting. People know Joshua. Like if Americans know Joshua, he's a name.
I think Deontay Wilder's the guy to watch. The guy has a great highlight reel. Knockout
it's the
artist.
Fight to make. Let's hope it happens quickly.
Yeah, well, with boxing, you never know, right?
Yep.
And even MMA, you don't always get the fights that you want that quickly. We're still waiting on Conor versus...
Habib.
Still waiting on Conor versus somebody in the UFC, you know?
George versus Conor.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Well,
We're going to get CM Punk fighting in the UFC. It looks like Punk will be fighting June 9th, UFC 225 in Chicago. That's a start. He's not fighting Floyd Mayweather, though.
Yeah.
Are you hyped for that? Because honestly, I couldn't care less. But I'll watch the freak show.
I'm excited for it.
I'll watch the car crash.
Well, you know me. I'm a huge CM Punk fan. I'm a big pro wrestling guy, and CM Punk.
But what if he loses bad again? How is it gonna make you feel?
I don't think he's going to lose as bad. I think
well,
he's had
can't
more
be
than
much worse.
No, but you know what?
I don't think it's going to bother me. Like, I want to see him win. I'd like to see him victorious. It would be cool if he could get that for himself, and as a fan of the guy, I want to see him have that kind of success. But I mostly want to see him in pro wrestling. And whatever pro wrestling company he goes to, be it New Japan or Ring of Honor or even the WWE, that's what I'm going to watch, and that's what I really want to see. So him in MMA is like whatever. I'm going to watch it because I'm a fan of that guy, but I'd rather see him wrestling. So that's how I feel about Punk. But he's going to be fighting in his hometown of Chicago. Should be interesting. UFC London tomorrow. You guys going to be watching? It's a 1:45 p.m. start here, Eastern, because it is in London, England, and it's on UFC Fight Pass only. So the first prelim early here for us on a Saturday afternoon, 1:45, while the main card begins at 5 p.m.
Yep.
Fabricio Werdum taking on Alexander Volkov in the main event. Volkov, a former Bellator champion, a very tall guy. Volkov's like almost...
He's 6'7".
Yeah, 6'7". Yeah. He's very big. But Fabricio Werdum is Fabricio Werdum. He's a former UFC heavyweight champion, one of the best heavyweights in the history of the game. But he's getting up there in age. How old is Fabricio now? He's 40 years old.
Yep.
Oh, man, 40. And Volkov is 29. That makes a difference, but skill and technique and experience, they make a difference as well.
What are the odds saying?
Werdum is the favorite, minus 190. Volkov, plus 155. That makes sense to me. I'd go with Werdum to win this fight, right?
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. It's going to be a submission probably win.
Volkov has lost twice before by submission.
And that's what's going to be.
But not for a long time. Like, he hasn't lost by submission in like 8 years. And he hasn't lost in a long time. He's undefeated so far in the UFC. He's gone 3-0 with wins over Roy Nelson and most recently a knockout win over Stefan Struve.
Yep. He's exciting.
Volkov is tough.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But he's fighting Werdum, and I think it's going to be a submission loss for him.
We'll see. Werdum sometimes brings some great performances, like when he defeated Walt Harris, quick submission. Other times he's a little bit more timid, but I got to pick Werdum also.
He looked good at the weigh-ins, I'll tell you. So
hard to go against Fabricio Werdum.
Yep.
Any other fights on this card you guys care about? Because I'm looking up and down, and I don't really see anything.
Yeah, well, Cajun Johnson.
Oh, Cajun Johnson. There you go.
For sure.
Okay. He's a Canadian fighter from out there in BC. He doesn't fight very often, Cajun. His last fight was in, he fought in September 2015, and then he took 2 years off. Fought again in September of 2017, where he won by knockout. Looked great in Edmonton. And now he's back. I'm glad to see him fighting once again. And he faces Stevie Ray, not Booker T's tag team partner Stevie Ray, the MMA fighter from, he's out there in the UK, Scotland. The Scotsman, Stevie Ray, taking on Canadian man, the Ragin' Cajun Johnson. And
who's an exciting fighter. I like him.
Yeah, he's very fun to watch. And Cajun is the underdog right now, plus 155, Stevie Ray minus 190. I think it's time to place a wager on Cajun Johnson.
I agree with you on that. I think Cajun is looking good.
I'm kind of surprised he's the underdog, considering...
Maybe not too many people know him, right?
That's he fought Ray once in the last 2 years, you said 3 years, so...
Yeah, he won, though.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray's coming off a loss. Cajun's coming off a win. Cajun hasn't lost in 4 years. His last loss was in 2014. He's only fought 3 times since then, but still.
I'm just saying that's not the fight where I'm going to tell our audience to go spend their money and bet on it.
All right, well, I'm going to do it then.
Yeah, I'm going to do it too.
I'm not going to tell you to
Manager
to
Marco's
bet.
going to do it.
I don't think it's good to gamble, and I'm not saying I'm going to do it for sure, technically, and I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm just saying if you were going to gamble, Cajun Johnson at plus 155 as the underdog, it might be a good pick.
Yeah, put $1 on him.
That's what I'm saying. Legally speaking. I don't think I can advocate for somebody to gamble. I don't think I'm allowed to do that. I think officially I have to say, or maybe gamble responsibly. I don't know.
Exactly. There you go.
I don't know, because gambling is legal, right? You can sports gamble at a dépanneur.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Quebec, for sure.
I've done that.
Mise au jeu.
Exactly.
Can I admit on the radio that I've done that? I don't know. I think I can. I think you can say you've done that. You've done a mise au jeu before.
What happened with Pete Rose? Didn't he get banned from baseball for doing the same thing?
I'm not a baseball player, though.
So what, you think you're going to be banned from MMA?
Dave's going to be banned from Ringside Report.
No. I don't think they can ban me from the show.
No.
That would be tough to do.
You'll probably get a sponsor by Lotto Quebec just for saying that.
What did Dana White tell you once? Don't be a what?
Dana White?
Dana White told me not to be I don't think I can repeat it.
What?
I think he said, don't be a dick. I think that's what he said to me.
He said that
Richard.
to you?
Don't be Richard.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fighting words, man. That's
you want me to fight Dana White?
Dana White
Dana's
down.
in the new UFC game, so maybe that's where he could fight Dana.
Dave, he said that to you? I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to take him down. That's it.
No,
when
it's
we see him next time, I'm taking him down. I'm going to give him not a
passes if you say things
single
like that.
leg.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a double leg on him.
I'll tell you honestly, it was very friendly when he said it.
You sure?
Yeah, it was a friendly moment. I was asking him questions about the Athletic Commission in Quebec and saying how it doesn't seem like they're really testing for drugs. Does that concern
but they
you
are now
as a promoter? Yeah, well, I guess they are. I don't know. I don't want to get into that. But Dana White, he was just saying, look, as a promoter, don't be asking me questions about the Athletic Commission a day before the fight because I don't want to get in trouble with them. They might cancel the event because, there was one UFC, I think it was UFC 97, where the Athletic Commission all of a sudden decided that MMA was illegal and they weren't allowed to have any more fights. Or maybe it was even UFC 113 that was here. I think it was. I think the UFC had done 2 shows at the Bell Center, and then the commission all of a sudden decided that, nah, MMA's illegal. You're not allowed to do it anymore.
I think it was 97 because that's where the stomps weren't legal. That was the thing also.
The Anderson Silva card here.
Yeah,
exactly.
When he fought
and
Anderson Silva did do a stomp even though it wasn't legal and nobody punished him for it.
So they had UFC 83 here, which was the first UFC in Montreal, and then the UFC booked UFC 97, I guess, and the Athletic Commission said, no, you're not allowed to have MMA here. And we're like, we've had TKO events at the Bell Center. We've had a UFC show at the Bell Center. How is the UFC not allowed to be here anymore?
Oh.
And I guess somebody,
read the books all of a sudden, read the rules.
Yeah, somebody read rule books or whatever. Unbelievable. So the Athletic Commission, you don't want to poke and prod them too much because they might shut you down if you're a promoter. The Athletic Commission here in Quebec can be iffy at times.
But hey, you might get a second, third, fourth chance also. Who knows?
A referee got bamboozled tonight in TKO. You see that?
No.
A guy had a guillotine choke. Frederick Dupras had a guillotine choke on Devin McIntyre tonight. 34 seconds into the first round, he had him down in his guard with a guillotine. He told the ref that the guy was out, unconscious, so the ref stopped the fight. Didn't check the guy to see if he was unconscious or not. Turns out the guy was fine. Not unconscious at all. Ref stops the fight. It's over. This guy Dupras wins in 34 seconds by guillotine submission. The referee thought the guy was out because the guy who had the choke on the other guy said, "Oh, I got him. He's out." And the ref said, "Okay, stop the fight. You win." And then the other guy's like, "Wait a second. I wasn't out. I was just sitting there. I was fine. You didn't even have me in a choke. I didn't tap. I didn't go out. Why are you stopping this fight?" The referee's like, "Whoops. Sorry."
I got to check that out.
Yeah, you do have to check it out.
Sometimes it does
happen.
happen.
The referee should check it out, too.
No, but sometimes it does happen. Like, the guy looks like he's there, and all of a sudden he's not, and he comes back. I mean,
well,
like,
both his arms were stuck, but
I mean,
like, I think the referee made a mistake because mostly the guy was like standing on his toes. You could see with his legs that he wasn't really out. So I didn't get a feeling that the guy was out, and you could clearly see on the replay that the fighter tells the referee he's out, and that's what makes the referee react. So the referee didn't do his job properly there.
Well, it's a cheap win then. There you go.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't be proud of that one.
He was pretty happy with it.
I'm
though.
sure
the guy
he is,
was
but
pretty
still,
happy.
I mean, like we're talking about,
you know,
it,
you win an MMA fight, you're happy about it, right? There were some good fights though at TKO tonight. Bobby Sullivan with a nice knockout of Blake Nash in the heavyweight division. The main event, you had TJ Laramie defeating João Luis Nogueira
Very good
by
fight.
TKO in the 5th round. That was a good fight. Laramie defending his TKO featherweight title. These fights taking place in Laval tonight. TKO, of course, a Quebec-based MMA promotion. I think they're going to Quebec City for the next show. Isn't that what your mom called about
Exactly.
before we went on the air? Your mom called to tell you that TKO's next show was in Quebec City?
She's watching our back, guys. That's for sure. So
Thank
in
you.
May, like, you know, Mama, thanks. I appreciate it.
So Charles Jourdain in the co-main event knocked out Matar Low in about 2 minutes. That was pretty impressive knockout win for Jourdain.
Yeah, but Matar seemed like very slow. It looked like he was just not exchanging. I've seen Matar fight before, and he was a lot more engaging in the past fights. This one, he seemed like he was
a tough
Jourdain
fighter.
was awesome. He was
exactly.
he's beautiful. He was a great fighter, but Matar just like looked
He got
slow.
caught.
I don't know.
I mean, he got caught. It happens in this sport.
But Jourdain he's something. I like him.
And we have a new TKO flyweight champion as Malcolm Gordon submitting Jordan Graham with a pretty sweet Kimura in the first round.
That was awesome.
That was really nice, right? He had him in a triangle. He was going for the armbar. He was going for the triangle. And then having him in the triangle position, instead of going for the choke, he Kimura'd him from that spot.
Yeah, the transitions were awesome. He's something. He has an amazing team out there, and where are they fighting out of? The team is out of London, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's that's the Team Tompkins, the Adrenaline
Sam
team,
Stout,
Sam Stout, Mark
Right.
Hominick, that whole crew. Looking good tonight, that whole crew.
Man, it's
getting
incredible.
a lot of victories. I think Laramie fights with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Gordon fights with them. They had a lot of guys on that card. It seems like a good little team that they're forming. And, you know, Stout, Hominick, they kind of retired at the same time. They have a lot of experience at the highest level, and now they're coaching full-time. That's a recipe for a good MMA team.
Oh, yeah. And they proved it tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah. I've always liked those guys. Mark the Machine Hominick, he was always very good to Ringside Report Radio. Sam Stout as well.
Should get him on the show.
We've had him on the show many times. I ran into Mark Hominick one time in Nova Scotia when I was out on vacation. It's just like turning around in a restaurant I was eating at. There's Mark Hominick. It's like, what is Mark Hominick doing here in this small town in Nova Scotia? He was doing a seminar.
The question is, what the heck were you doing there?
I was on vacation. That's where I vacation. I vacation in a small town in Nova Scotia every summer. You will learn this come summertime when I go out on vacation for like 3 weeks. I'm gone. Look forward to it.
And how about our buddy James Mancini that was on the show a couple of weeks ago?
Congratulations to our man James Mancini. He got a victory tonight at TKO. A nice decision victory for him. Congratulations, James. And thank you for coming on the show a couple weeks ago. Good man.
And by the way, he's half Irish. Half Italian, half Irish guy, so obviously right now it's Happy St. Patrick's, man.
Yeah, big St. Patrick's Day weekend.
So are you half Irish, half Italian? Because, I mean, your name's pretty Italian.
But look at my sweater that I'm wearing.
Yeah, exactly.
No one can
You're
see
wearing
this.
a Irish sweater right now.
Ireland That's for my buddy Wally there.
Yeah, our
That's
man
doing
Wally,
well.
who's doing well. Yeah, last week we were concerned about him health-wise, but I heard from him over the past week, and Wally is doing fine. We're very happy about that.
That's it, Wally.
And finally, we're going to keep calling you Anthony. We're not calling you AJ. Nope.
Come on,
not happening,
guys.
Fred.
Like, how many years have we known ourselves now? Like, I mean, we're
we've known you for a while. Why are we going to start calling you AJ?
Yeah,
all
I
of a
can't
sudden?
change right now. You know, that's something
Seriously?
you got to put right away at the start.
I like AJ.
You know who was Anthony Jr. who called himself AJ?
Who?
Tony Soprano's kid,
Yeah,
AJ.
exactly.
Oh, is
and
that?
AJ Soprano was a loser.
Yeah,
What?
exactly. You don't want to be.
You don't want to be like AJ, all right? He was not cool.
You guys, man, are mean. Extremely mean.
That's the show. We're out of time. I'm going to be back here tomorrow night with Johnny North right after the Habs post-game show for Wrestling Uncensored. We are 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. Get ready. Get ready for the granddaddy of them all. I'm going to go all Vince McMahon on you. The granddaddy of them all, damn it. Rah!
We'll start fighting right after the show ends.
That's right. The fight is on, boys.
No, we did that last week, me and Fred, before the show started.
Before the show, you guys were fighting.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We don't fool around here. It's real.
Follow Anthony on Twitter at Dan E. Brook. Follow Fred at Freddie MMA. You can follow me at Dave Simon MMA. RingsideReport.net is our website. Every episode of Ringside Report Radio and Wrestling Uncensored and Wrestling Uncensored New Japan Edition and Wrestling Uncensored post Fastlane videos and all sorts of stuff going on at RingsideReport.net. For Fred Garcia and Anthony DeLesio, I am Dave Simon, and this has been Ringside Report Radio.